Progressive brings you Flowetry with Flo.
When Flo flows, she flows in the know. Mind ruminates the rates. Shown them all, I heed the call. Seeing the rest, I choose the best. Sometimes it's ours, sometimes it's not. When the fox walks, is it called a fox trot? That's a real question.
Compare Progressive Direct rates with competitors' rates. Visit Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Hi, welcome to the Living in Partnership with Spirit show. I'm Ingrid Turner, your host, and I am thrilled as ever to be here with you today. So I am a spiritual medium. I'm a psychic and a teacher and a budding writer, if I do say so. I got to start putting that out there because it's going to happen soon, right? So I work with people in groups, and I work with people one-on-one to connect with spirit or to hook people up directly with the infinite. And if you want to learn more about me and what I do, you can visit my website, www.ingridhturner.com. That's INGRIDHTURNER.com. So this show explores the concept of living in partnership with spirit. And let me start with a definition for you. So living in partnership with spirit means, for me, to commune with the divine and live from that place of feeling and intuition. So it means living with less anxiety and more certainty, and ultimately living your highest purpose in this body on this planet. Now, living in partnership with spirit might mean something different to you, and that's okay. The concept, the show, we don't provide a dogma for you. We just share our experience of spirit, of the divine, of consciousness, of source, whatever container that you want to put that in, share our experience, and then you take what resonates deeply with you and you discard the rest. It's as easy as that. So this show, the Living in Partnership with Spirit show, explores different themes and topics and paths to living in partnership with spirit. And we dive into the many ways we communicate, we experience, and we work with spirit in our daily lives. So today, at the end of each month, I have a special show where I bring on a panel of guests, 3 or 4 guests, to talk about a very specific topic. And we're wrapping up our March lineup with 3 incredible artists of various mediums. We're talking about spirit and creativity, or spirituality and creativity. In brief, I've got Lynne Andersen joining us. She's a painter and a teacher, and she's weaved her spiritual connection and her art over a lifetime and 3 continents. Ashton Robertson is a musician who, after his own profound spiritual awakening, began pursuing his musical career and uses that as a medium to spread the message of light and love across the globe. Monika Carless is an author who channels her characters' lives and stories, and through those messages helps us delve into sacred sexuality, pagan mythology, and erotic expression. So I know that doesn't cover any really of what they do. So I want to bring on our panel and let them introduce themselves properly to you. Dana, Ashton, and Monika, welcome. Oh, I heard a giggle.
Hello.
Okay, another giggle. Hi. So I'm going to be real organized about this and sort of let everybody go one at a time as we go through our introductions and our questions and what have you. So Dana, I want to start with you. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on. Can you give us more detail about what you do and then tell us where we can find you?
Yes, this is such a pleasure to be with you again. And I must say, you already are a writer as well as a dancer.
Thank you.
I forgot about I first met you was dancing. I have the Awakening Arts Academy, which has centers near Portland, Oregon, and also near Assisi, Italy. And through these academies, we work with arts, all of the modalities, dance, music, writing, theater, clay, collage, film, math making, whatever it is, as a modality, as a vehicle for awakening, for opening up to the deep inner life and the spiritual life. And I have a transformative arts certificate program that I also offer that teaches sort of this process, this approach that's kind of a midwifery of the creative process. And then I'm an artist, so I paint. And that's...
Oh, that's great. Awesome. So that I mentioned, I got 3 continents from your bio, and you just mentioned 2 of them. What was the third one?
Oh, okay, because I also spend quite a bit of have in the past and will continue to spend time in India as well. I don't have a center there, but I've done workshops and exhibitions, and continue to have some of my students come from India, and I will be going there again in the future. So that's in the docket there. It's part of the annual migration. And I should probably say the website too, which is awakeningartsacademy.com. So that's awakeningartsacademy.com. And the program is called Transformative Arts Cation Program. And then I have my own website, which is DanaLynneAndersen.com, and that's for the fine art. And that's D-A-N-A and then L-Y-N-N-E. And Andersen is also with an E. Instead of Andersen, it's Andersen, S-E-N. And those are the two sites that I have.
Great. Do you have a certificate program starting up soon?
Yes, this summer. And then also right now in Portland, several of the courses that I'm offering count towards that, because some people take it course by course over the course of several years, and some come for the intensive in Italy, where it's held over June, July, and August, and you cover all of level 1 and most of level 2 in that one summer. And then the completion of it involves some follow-up project work.
Gotcha. Okay, great. And I'm just going to take a quick aside. I know we have some callers in the queue, so because this is our special show, wanted to make it clear that I won't be doing readings for callers on this show, but if you want to stay on and ask a question about spirituality and art for Dana or Ashton or Monika specifically, go ahead and stay on the line, and I will take your questions at the end of our panel discussion. Okay, so thank you, Dana. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Ashton, kicking it over to you. Hi.
Hello.
Tell us about yourself. Where can we find you? What are you doing?
All right. Well, my name is Ashton. I'm based in Ann Arbor, Michigan. My main project is Spaceship Earth. It's my electronic music project. It's just me, and I play electric guitar on live instruments over top of it, but I use it as really like this central hub for all of my work. Through the music, I have a lot of inspirational writings that come through. I have a meditation side project called Cloud, and I share my art and connect a lot of different people through my networks. And it's really, Spaceship Earth is that central hub and allows me to like really stay grounded with everything, and creates that really more focused way for me to express because I love writing. I love art of all kinds. I love photography, drawing, any way that, I love the spirit and creativity discussion in general, because any way that spirit can come through me, I usually let it happen. Music happens to be that central thing that really pulls it together for me, and I love doing it.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Where can we find you?
And you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/SpaceshipEarthMusic, and you can find all my music on SoundCloud.com, and you just have to type in Spaceship Earth. And through my SoundCloud page, I have links to every single other, all my Instagram and my Twitter and everything like that.
All over the internet, yeah. Well, I'll tell you, if you're listening in, Ashton is really fun to follow on Facebook. So if you go find his Spaceship Earth, he's great to follow. It's super inspiring. Awesome. Thank you, Ashton.
I appreciate that. Definitely. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Monika, hi, lady.
Hi. Hello, everyone listening, and thank you, Ingrid, for having me on your show. I'm from Vancouver Island, Canada. I'm the author of the Dark Pool series of novels, which is a combination of mysticism and erotica, and also I'm a freelance writer, and currently I'm featured at Elephant Journal, which is an online mindful life publication. Aside from that, I'm a practicing witch, and I channel a soul group called Aiden, which assists me in my novel writing, but they're also available for tarot card readings, which I do for people who follow me. I can be found through my website, simplysolitary.wordpress.com. or on Facebook at The Raven and the Mystic. That's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Oh, thank you, Monika. Just straight to the point. I love how, I gave this real sort of one-liner about you, about all three of you, and you just start talking about yourself, and you're all so so multi-dimensional. We come on the show and sort of I'm sitting here thinking about a, very one-dimensional view of okay, we have this feels like a good fit because you're all different modalities, and then you start talking about yourself and it's oh my gosh, y'all do everything. So that's really cool. So all right, well let's dive in. I want to learn more. I want to go deeper. So my first question for you guys, I want to hear about really how your creativity and your spirit or spirituality, how that melds together for you, how that comes together. And Ashton, would you mind answering that question first?
Absolutely. I loved how you brought up the multidimensional thing, because for me, with music being the main thing, it's very, especially electronic music, is very multidimensional, where I can have layers of, I'll go into nature and record, say nature is, a lot of my spirituality. And so I can go into nature and record some birds. Just yesterday, I recorded these birds I'd never heard before. And I can go home, put them into my computer, upload it into the song. And it really feels like this organic experience, but it feels multidimensional because I can, through my spiritual awakening, I can focus that intention into the music and bring my states of being, I guess, and imprint it into the music, and that allows the listener and the audience to tap into those states of being. But just in general, electronic music has really opened the door of creativity for me in ways that before, I felt limited by just playing guitar, I guess. But it also has this ethereal, spiritual quality. There's this communal thing that happens on the dance floor between all of us, and it's definitely a multi-dimensional thing, just like you said.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I love hearing about that. The experience of your intention in the music. I feel like I got this kind of visceral, expanding feeling come up around me. It was cool to listen to. Thank you, Ashton. So, Monika, can you help describe for us about your creativity and your spirit and spiritual interweaving?
Okay. I really love this question. I used to see spirit and creativity as two separate things, but really it's kind of two sides of the same coin. And for me, creativity is how spirit moves or manifests into the physical world. I happen to do it through writing, but it's kind of like birthing a child. Spirit moves into the physical via a conduit, and then creativity is that portal. Anyway, that's how I see it. And I see my personal work as bringing other dimensions into this one. I write fiction and nonfiction that explore mythology and sexuality, goddess love, and what it means to be a woman. So I see it as spirit and I cooperating for the purposes of revealing certain mysteries. And so sometimes I write about things that are already manifested in other worlds and other time-space continuums, and then I want to share that with my fellow humans, and I do it through, writing fiction, which I find is a really great way of connecting with people. And for example, I write about the role of women in the development of erotic awareness and why eroticism is a divine imprint on humanity. But I write it in a fictional setting because it's easier for people to digest than an article, let's say, for Elephant Journal that is focused on real people, because when it's fantasy, we allow ourselves to go places that are forbidden otherwise. I mean, that's how I see it anyway. And then in this way, spirit can expand our understanding of the feminine and the masculine, and then I'm just using fiction as that portal. And so my spirituality is not something separate of what I actually do as a creative person. And, I have to channel somebody who lives in a separate dimension from mine and grasp those concepts. that are still in development here on Earth. And then as I do that, the planet absorbs those concepts and it begins to live here as well as where I got it from. So I just kind of see it as a cooperative, creativity and spirit as a cooperative kind of endeavor.
Mhm. Wow.
So does that make any sense?
That makes perfect sense. It's tremendous. You're like, no, I got this all mapped out. Here's how it works. Like, oh, okay, great. That's how we do it. I love that. Thank you, Monika.
Thank you.
I just because things are moving a little bit quicker than I anticipated, which it usually does. But I just want to share that, Monika, you're talking about that other dimensions and using writing and creativity as the medium for it. The first time I remember my creativity and my spirituality coming together, I was 7 years old, and I was visited by a spirit, and he told me a story and dictated a poem to me. I wrote a poem from it. Of course, I didn't know that's what was happening till 25 years later, but but I could really connect my own experience with what you were talking about there, what you were explaining.
That's awesome. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Dana, same question. Let's talk about creativity and the marriage of creativity and spirit, how that shows up for you.
Yeah, thanks. It was great to hear these other responses too. I would concur that for me, they're absolutely inseparable. And in my own practice, I think that the creative process, the creative investigation, the opening the channel and allowing the flow of spirit to move through body and being is a path of spirit. It's a spiritual practice. And in the workshops and classes, that's one of the presuppositions that we're working with, is that creativity is an infinite presence. It's a power and Shakti and prana and life force energy that moves through all beings and has a divine intelligence impregnated in it. And so when we don't actually even create creativity. Creativity is like this sap of life that flows through us. And what our job is to open the aperture, to open our hearts and minds and let it flow. And when that happens, I think we really do instantly, as they were saying, open into more multidimensional realities amongst ourselves and within our own being. We open into much deeper and higher dimensions of our own being. We become full spectrum. Whereas I think if without the creative life, we're in a sort of, flattened material, grayscale place. And so to me, creativity is the path of spirit.
Mm-hmm. Wow. You all talk about dimensions, tapping into other dimensions and making your own world and the world around us multidimensional, bringing through what doesn't exist in this world from the dimensions that come through you through your creativity. I feel like you all touched on that to some degree or another, and that's pretty magical right there. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that, I wanted to mention too that with what Monika was just talking about, recently I've been doing creative investigation work, opening, letting things flow through, and there's been a lot of information about the sacred masculine and sacred feminine that's just sort of flooding in right now. And I think there is this zeitgeist, this collective spirit of the times, so that there's certain things that are surging through the sort of airwaves of humanity that are coming, being seeded from higher dimensions, and are coming in to anybody who would open up and begin to receive it and pull it down.
Mm-hmm. Right. Wow. Mm-hmm. So, you all live and breathe your art. It's your full-time life, your art and your spirituality. And I want to know how we are born into, most of us are kind of born into that flat existence that you talked about, that grayscale existence, Dana. And those of us who are called to it, they find the colors. They find the expansion, the multi-dimensions. They make their way there. But everybody's got a different journey there. So I would like to know from each of you, how did you come to do the work that you do? And were you inspired? Were you called to it? Did you fall into it? And Monika, would you kick us off with that? Tell us your whole story.
I would love to. Thank you. Obviously it was incubating since the day I was born, but I began to actually notice it in the physical when I started transitioning from Christianity to paganism. And as I explored my desire to be connected to the earth and I began my witches practice, I started to realize certain things that were foreign to me before, which is like I could hear animals or plants or trees communicating to me, and that expanded my awareness of spirit's presence in all things. And I mean, that's something I already believed, but I had suppressed it. And that resulted in my first set of children's books, which are called Tessa and the Fairies, which kind of explore the invisible world and the world of the fairies and stuff. So, and then I began to explore my sexuality, openly, like out in the world. And one day I wrote a poem that talked about what I wanted my life to look like and with the partners that I hope to live with. And that poem was my first published piece at Elephant Journal. And that began my kind of, article writing career. Before that, I'd been writing for magazines, but they were strictly environmental pieces. So now I was expanding into what I was writing about. And now I've written over 300 articles for Elephant. And then one day I was sitting and pondering, about how authenticity was central to my life, or to life in general. And I had the inspiration that the poem I'd written for Elephant was actually a short form of a book. And then by instinct, I just sat down at my computer and I started typing. And what came out was clearly not only mine, because it flowed I didn't have to think. It was just flowing. And my spirit guide, or my muse, was using my life as fodder for the story. And my unique imprint on the planet was being used to transmit this message, that was going to come through these novels. And so then my desire to live a polyamorous life as a bisexual woman turned into a way of helping others live authentically, because my books and articles, I feel, offer space for people to explore their own sexuality and their spirituality as well. And then, as it turned out, my novels became kind of a self-realizing prophecy, as now I'm in the relationship that I wrote about, and I had to find the courage to live the life that I was born to. And so then I realized further that as I expand, we all expand, and so does consciousness. But it took a really decided commitment to what my work was to be to make it happen. I had the inspiration and the inclination, but I had to act upon it and to believe that this is what I came to do. And without the action, I would have really missed my calling. I mean, I really understood it in essence as not a hobby, but as a way for me to shift physical reality on the planet. And that sounds really grand, like you would say, that's a really grand statement. Like, you really think you're going to shift reality on the planet by writing about erotica? And actually, I do. And you have to really believe in that that's what you're here to do. And more importantly, it's just really, really crucial to recognize that moment when inspiration visits, and then to grow that seed and not to back away from it and say, that's just really weird. I really shouldn't be doing this. Like, you just have to step right into it. So anyway, that's how that happened for me.
So because I have a couple of minutes to do this, and I'm super, super curious, because you just said something that kind of blew my mind. As you were talking, which was,
I knew you were going to catch that.
You came to your calling when you transitioned from Christianity to pagan religion. And you are, a writer of erotica, you're polyamorous, your work is all about sexuality and erotica and the spirituality with that, which Christianity has many wonderful things to offer, but it's not any of those things. And could you take a couple of minutes and talk a little bit about your transition moving from Christianity to paganism, which is like, oh my God, so completely backwards than what has ever been done before? Because you look back on history and it's like all the pagans are being converted to Christianity, and you're like, I'm a Christian converted to paganism. And I'm like, mind blown. Can you tell me just a little bit more about that, if you would?
Okay. I think that my background, like as a child, I was raised by my grandmother and in Poland, and I was very free there. Like, I could run around with the gypsies, and I was always in the woods, and that was like my initial connection to spirit, was through nature, and that never really left me. But then when I was adopted, I was transitioned into Christianity, first Catholicism, and then I defected on my own from Catholicism, and then I tried Protestantism, however that word goes, I don't know. Anyway, and then I left that when things started to surface for me. I began to question certain things about Christianity, and when I asked questions, I was told that you really shouldn't be thinking about that, and don't ask for those answers. And being a Scorpio and quite stubborn, I thought, no, I really do want the answer. So I started looking into it for myself, and because I was a voracious reader, I always happened onto books that kind of expanded my awareness, and I just needed to be closer to spirit. I needed to feel spirit in a very visceral way and an everyday level, and for me, that always happened in the woods. So it was a natural thing. It felt like I've always been this witchy person. I just have forgotten,
right.
And so basically it was just remembering who I was, and because I was by nature bisexual, that didn't really fit into the Christian model either, and so I had to liberate myself and say, if I stay here, I'm always going to suppress this, and I always knew that I wanted to be polyamorous, so that certainly didn't fit into that system. I had to move myself along. I had to just take myself from one world into another and say, I fit here, I don't fit there. I mean, I lost all my friends, but I made new ones. It was a big journey. I mean, it's hard to encapsulate in a few minutes, but that's basically how that went down.
Great, that's amazing. Wow. So, Dana, can you talk a little bit about how you came to the work you do?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of pick up on a little bit with what Monika was saying about sort of the audacity of believing that what your work, you're doing your creative work in the world can make a difference in the world. Because for me, early on, I had such an inner sense of calling and wanting to do this work, but feeling like it wasn't going to help the world, and the world was in crisis, so I needed to go do something else so I could figure out how to sort of save the world. and it wasn't until later that I came to the understanding that this work is that helping people to touch into their own creative power and their own authentic being is actually very transformative, and that level of work, the deeper level of work, is what changes things in the world in an important way. And so for me, my own journey involved trusting and following the sense of what I was supposed to be doing, which early on was sometimes confusing because it seemed to go in so many different directions: painting, writing, teaching, visioning, who knows what. And it only was as time went on that it began to weave together and make this pattern that became visible and I could understand. And I think that that's sometimes often the case, because what we're doing when we're opening to the creative life is bringing in the future. We're tapping into what does not yet exist. And I hear you that so many of us humans on the planet right now are living or coming from that grayscale, tiny, slice of spectrum. But I really feel that this time period is about all of us being called to become full spectrum, to step into that world of color. And it takes, the courage to tap into what doesn't exist, to step away from everything that you've already known and experienced, and draw your inspiration from a place that doesn't yet show up in the outer world. It shows up in the inner world. And so that's what I would answer in this moment.
Oh, thank you, Dana. No, you're right. I mean, I feel that too, is that we are all being called to get there in one form or another now, wherever we start. And you were talking earlier about the masculine and the feminine energies, and things are breaking. Things are breaking apart as a result of those two energies shifting, changing, and that has everything to do with where we're headed and the work that you do. And I'm with you and Monika and Ashton, who I know feels the same way. You are changing the world with the work that you do. Absolutely, you're making the shift. So I'm a believer.
Thank you.
So Ashton, Ashton, let's take it over to you.
First of all, wow, great answers from everybody. Just seriously beautiful. Kind of off of what Dana said, I think it's so important to find yourself and get deep in and really discover who you are and let go of what, society tells, programmed us to, that we have to live a certain kind of life, because it really wasn't until I found myself spiritually and started meditating and started aligning with my joys and my passions, and that was the first time in my life that I actually realized that that's the stuff that I should be doing in the first place. But once I started following those joys, that's I found myself and I allowed myself to, journey into the world, and I had no real intention, just was in alignment and being present and following my guidance system from my guides at the time, and music really found me. I think that's really key, is find yourself and then it'll find you. And then once I started to discover who I was as a soul, I realized that a lot of the stuff I was going to do was planned before this life. I discovered my starseed roots, and I discovered that I was on this divine mission to that was pre-planned, that many souls had planned before this life to come here and raise consciousness through our creativity. I love that. Things really open to me as I align my being, rather than, the social program thoughts go to school and get married and stuff. And music actually found me too. My best friend brought over his guitar in 8th grade and then taught me a few songs, and I just kind of never quit, and it stuck with me. But when my spiritual awakening sparked, spirit started to flow through the music. And just by staying in alignment, I started tapping into universal consciousness. It started tapping into multiple dimensions, spirit guides. I started tapping into the Pleiadian collective and started channeling, and I have a lot of channels in my Spaceship Earth music. And truly, it was just that alignment with the higher self and the communication with my oversoul. It allowed this unfolding process and this evolution kind of spark through me to where I started channeling my own ideas and channeling my own higher self, and the name Spaceship Earth came through, the album name Interdimensional Passport came through 2 years before I even finished the album, and lots of things like that. It was just going deep within and refining and uncovering. It's you're mining your own consciousness, and you get these crystals, and it's always redefining itself, and it's always evolving. And as well as a lot of my spirituality came from tapping into my being, getting out of my linear thought pattern. So I try to have my music be undefined in a lot of ways, and as I go on, though, it gets more focused and undefined at the same time. It's all a process, I guess.
Organized chaos comes to mind.
Yeah, totally. And when I think Dan was talking about going out into nature a lot, everyone's talking about nature a lot, and it wasn't really until I found myself spiritually, and then I went to a music festival that was a spiritual music festival that was outside and in nature, and there was a combination of in the forest, electronic music, live instruments, spirituality. There was this very ancient future culture I kept thinking about. It was the ancient mythos of the past. The Eastern knowledge was being disseminated through the festival, but then the futuristic music was on stage, bringing it all together, and it was all threading, and it's also connected, and it's just all really beautiful. So for me, it was very much an evolution and an unfolding process, and it really found me. Truly.
I love that what you said. I feel like you captured something really special when you said, "Find yourself, and the medium will find you," or something similar to that. So
yeah,
it all starts with the process of self-discovery or self-revealing, and then the outside, just the cracks get filled in along the way. Thank you, Ashton.
Absolutely. Oh, totally. Thank you.
So I don't know. I'm sure that each of you had challenging experiences on some level, to some degree or another, as you moved into your life as a spiritual creative. And one of the things that I admire so much about all three of you is you're really living your passion, your destiny, your purpose, your whatever you want to call it. You're living and breathing it. You're not doing it part-time. It's like Dana said, it's not a hobby, or sorry, I think Monika said, one of you said that. It's not a hobby.
Yeah.
You're living and breathing it. And I know from personal experience that, moving into that lifestyle that you're supposed to live in, that you really have no choice but to live in, can come with a lot of challenges. From the often from the outside world, from people in our environment, from circumstance. Our world is not really designed to allow us to follow our bliss. It's something that we have to really step up to and be very committed to, and committed enough to overcome some of those challenges that show up in our life when we're pursuing that. So I was hoping you could each talk about some of the challenges you face coming into your own as a spiritual creative, because I'm sure we have people listening right now who know what they want to do or understand that this is the path for them, but it can be hard to really step into it because of some of these challenges. So it'd be great to hear about your experiences with those. And Dana, would you start?
Sure. Yeah, I would say, for any of this work, whether you're doing it full-time as a person who's committed to a lifestyle, or even just somewhat in your life, to bring this opening in, it's a big first huge thing is about trusting. And for me, in the early years, I trusted very much my inner process, but it was sometimes hard to trust the timing of things, because things didn't manifest as quickly as I wanted them to, or the outer world didn't always reflect what the inner world was bringing forth. And there is sometimes dissonance between the unfoldment of the inner world and the higher realms, and then the material matter realms, where things can be really slow as slogging through molasses sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
And similarly, there's kind of, Ashton was saying about getting out of the linear thought patterns. I think when you go into the creative flow, you go into a very spacious, non-linear state of consciousness, and it can be very challenging sometimes to come back and interface with the linear sequential world in the right way, so that you don't crash land into it or get so caught up in it that you then close the door or close the portal to the spacious reality. So you have to kind of find the rhythm point between these two realities, and when they interface and totally align, it's a glorious moment of fulfillment. But it doesn't happen all the time. There's a creative process, that involves moments of different things. And in fact, one of the other things I would mention is that almost everyone I know, and myself for sure, the creative process involves moments of despair or feeling lost, or just when you go deep, you have intense feelings and reactions to what's happening, and it's not just a little surface humdrum kind of thing. There's a greater capacity to experience some of the realities of yourself in this world. And so I think that it's something that you have to be in a constant process of trust and surrender to the guidance of a higher reality, and to the unfoldment of the process in time and space, and how it interacts and interfaces with time and space.
Right. That's great. Thank you, Dana. Ashton, what were some of the challenges that you faced?
At first, I definitely had a lot of resistance from my family. I dropped out of school and ran away to California and was talking to angels, and it was, like intense at first for a lot of my family to handle. And it's interesting now, just a few years later, the support that I have from my family and friends, that wasn't easy to gain, but just through sheer willpower and just hard work of, they're like, oh, this music thing could work, and, just things like that. But it's definitely was more than just a family issue. Is you're, as an artist, you can it's like almost all of us are like a little bit of outsiders to society. We can see the cracks of modern day culture, and we've always, I guess even as a starseed, always kind of felt on the outside looking in, and it was hard to have that self-worth at first, to feel like something like music could turn into a career for me, or it was definitely an unfolding process at first, because I thought I was honestly going to be like an author or like a holistic healer or something, and I always play guitar, but it wasn't until I found festivals, and honestly, when I got into festivals and found psychedelics, and the combination of those two really sparked the creativity with spirit, but it wasn't easy at all, and it has continued. It's definitely an unfolding process, and it's so important to be balanced, work hard, and do your best, and be easy on yourself, and don't let, like, for me, it's like, let the ease come off the art, and, like, take care of myself, and don't put all the pressure on the art to have to pay the bills the first few years. It's like, it's okay. And go slow. It's all an internal process. So it's it's all unique to ourselves, individually as souls, but the more you trust, like everyone was saying, and the more you align, and for me, it's like the more I really dive into my self-worth and my creator abilities, not just as for music or art, but like my reality manifestation, like what am I manifesting in general, why is that manifesting, and why are the challenges coming up, and to see the blessings in the challenges too, because it's all so beautiful and all so perfect, and all my best songs came out of the hardest times of my life. So.
Right. Oh, that's beautiful, Ashton. Thank you. Monika, we touched a little bit on some of your challenges. Oh, I'm sorry, Ashton, had you not finished your thought?
Oh, I'm all good.
You're good? Okay, great. Monika, can you tell us some of the main challenges that you faced?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say, Dana and Ashton, thank you so much. I'm learning so much, and I keep nodding my head and screaming inside, yes, that's how it is. So I think we're all on the same planet. So I think that my biggest challenge was self-imposed. I imagined all kinds of repercussions from stepping into my authenticity, and sometimes I just fell right into it. For instance, my thoughts revolved around the validity of my work and what others would think, which was all based on my lack of belief in my calling at the beginning. And I did get a lot of comments of, who do you think you are? And in the end, I had to answer that question for myself and believe in my own answer. I mean, once I started getting the comments of, oh, you're one of those people, and, once you start talking about other dimensions, and that I talk to invisible people, and that the character in my book, Aiden, was also part of a soul group, and that I channeled this person, it all, came kind of, my safe world came crashing down, and I'm very insular, and I value my safety, and I just feel like I always need to protect myself because I feel like my art makes me vulnerable and who I am makes me vulnerable. So anyway, and then as I was evolving into my spirituality, I was also evolving into my creativity, but it was a process, and wasn't always like melding together in a very smooth way. There were pitfalls, and then I had to understand myself before I could share myself with others, and then I wanted to exhale that, into, a confident path, but, there was times when it was very hard, and I didn't always have the answers to my own questions about my own journey. And so it was hard to answer other people's questions, and I had to just sometimes say, you know what, I can't explain to you who I am and what I'm doing, but I'm doing this, so, you're going to have to back off and give me space. And then aside from that, what Dana was saying about kind of coming out of other dimensions and then being okay in the world that we live in here. And I live fully in both worlds. I live fully as a human being and fully as a spiritual being in other dimensions. And that's also hard to explain to people. Like, people want you to choose. Like, okay, are you this or are you that? Like, you can't be both. And so my other great, the great area where I was challenged was in how I was going to feed myself. And I've gone through intense periods of creativity that weighed really heavily on my partner's support of me. And I had, finding a way of earning a living through my creativity has been a huge challenge, and being involved in like self-marketing and, which is not my skill nor my passion. One time I had this conversation with my spirit guide, and I said, it was quite recently. I said, I'm just going to go work at the garden center. And he was like thoroughly disgusted with me because he thought we already had this discussion, about, we thought you were going to be writing and now you're going to work at the bloody garden center. So, I always have this kind of back and forth of, I feel like I should be doing more of this, but really my art and my creativity and my spirituality call me in a different direction. And there has to be a balance, and I'm still working on that balance. And I had to become very intimate with the idea that spiritually creative work deserves a monetary reward. And I think many of us in this arena struggle with that concept. I had to be okay with saying that I had a calling even, because it sounds so self-indulgent. But, once you speak it out loud and you say, yes, I do have a calling and this is what I do, and I do deserve a monetary reward. And yes, I am allowed to live in all the worlds that I want to, participate in. I think that the biggest challenge is being okay with yourself. That's what it comes down to, because once you're okay with yourself, then you're okay with all the other stuff that other people say, because, I just don't think it's fair to expect people to understand it completely, who we are or what we do. How can they understand if they're not living in that world,
Right. I agree.
It's just like basically being gentle with ourselves and also gentle with other people about our path.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you, Monika. So, okay, taking 1 minute each, can you condense kind of what we talked about and take your challenges and, what you've been through and give your top 3 pieces of advice for people ready to follow their spirit directive and their creative passions? Just 1 minute each, 1 to 3 pieces of advice. Dana, go.
Follow your soul intuition, I would say, and follow the deeper heart, not just your surface pleasures or your likes even, but the deep soul intuition, because sometimes it tells you to do something that you don't want to do, or that is really scary to you, or isn't so easy. So it's not just about follow your, your happy little pleasures. It's follow your soul calling that's very profound and takes us in places we might not outwardly in our ego personality want to go, but are taking us where we need to go. Trust your timing, your purpose, your vision. I was thinking of the question that Monika just said, people saying, who do you think you are? And I think we have to really be able to respond with a vast eternal being, in some way. We have to find the identity within ourselves that is really transcendent of this time and space, and then that really anchors us where we need to be for unfolding a life of creativity. And finally, I would say take little steps, little concrete steps, and let them grow organically, particularly when it comes to marketing and getting your interface into the world to make money doing this. You have to grow organically from little things and let them take root and evolve, and showing up for routines and things over and over. Like the first couple classes, maybe nobody comes or 2 or 3 people come, and you have to keep holding the space. I think of the story of St. Francis building the chapel with the stones, and that was really the symbol of his larger work.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dana. Ashton, top 3 pieces of advice.
Okay. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think that's like the essence of creativity right there.
Right.
align with spirit and meditation and nature first. Like seek inspiration through nature, seek spiritual food for the mind, body, and spirit first, and then that alignment, and allow the ideas to pour through you, because you're a soul and you're a complete kit, and your dreams and your are like your soul imprints and your soul destiny, and it's your divine mission here. So sharing your gifts is going to really uplift all. And I would say find others, learn how to co-create, dance with creation, go out into the world and start threading yourself with people, and learn from nature, think outside the box. Just follow what feels good to you. Just follow what feels really good. Have high standards. Just fill yourself with divine energy and knowledge, and then let that pour into your art. And we all have the power through creativity to really you can move worlds. And like Alex Gray once said, you are one with the same force that created the spiralic arms of the galaxy. So I think aligning is really just so key. And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Ashton. Monika,
Definitely.
top 3.
Okay, so number 1, understanding that what you bring to the consciousness in terms of your creativity can only be brought forth uniquely by you. I received that advice once, and it's carried me through many a dark moment where I knew that my purpose for being incarnated was this, and I had to believe in it. I had to know it on a cellular level. And number 2, don't worry about being crazy, because what we're doing is taking something formless and expressing it into the tangible, and that's alchemy. And not a lot of people understand alchemy. And there's going to be lots of times when you're going to question your own sanity, but you can't be one of your own detractors. There's enough detractors out there, you can't be one of them. So even if creativity is not about making sense. It's about exploring mystery. So just forget about the fact that you might be crazy. You might be, it doesn't matter. And number 3, something that's really important to me is to honor my guides and my oracles. I mean, it's a real live wire transmission, from spirit to the earthly plane when you get inspiration. And it's part of the initial spark that birthed the universe, and that's really big. So I practice gratitude for my inspiration daily. Sometimes I kiss my runes, or I sing with my muse, or I sing to him, or I dance with my tarot cards. And I really practice the gratitude for the inspiration that comes through. And I think that's really, really important. So
awesome.
That's it for me.
Thank you, Monika. Thank you. My gosh, we are getting ready to wrap up our panel. Thank you so much, Dana, Ashton, and Monika, for coming on today and sharing what you've got, sharing your beauty and your wisdom with us. So inspiring to hear about your life and your work. And I feel like it makes me believe that all things are possible. To hear a little bit about your journey and where you find yourself now, and the living and thriving that you're doing, and the changes that you're making in the world. Just beautiful. So thank you again. And before I let you go, I want you to tell us one more time how we can contact you, just in case listeners missed the beginning of the show. So Dana, where can we find you?
You can email me, dana@awakeningartsacademy.com, and that's also the website, awakeningartsacademy.com. And Dana is D-A-N-A.
All right. Ashton?
Yeah, that's a good idea. You can email me at spaceshipearthmusic@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook, Spaceship Earth Music, SoundCloud, just type in Spaceship Earth, and all my links are on my SoundCloud page. And thank you so much again for having me on.
Awesome. Monika?
Yes, also thank you for having me. It was really wonderful. And you can find me at simplysolitary.wordpress.com. And that's my website, and all my links to all my things are there, to Instagram and Facebook and Elephant Journal. On Facebook, I'm The Raven and the Mystic.
Great. Thank you both. Thank you all three once again for coming on. Beautiful to hear from you. What a great discussion. I feel like we could talk about this all day, but 1 hour is good to start.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. You
Thank
three
you so
have
much.
a wonderful rest of your day. So,
thank you.
Thank you. And thank you those who listened in today, listened to the show. So glad you were here. We're doing it for you. You can find the archives of this show if you want to share it later, and a slew of other shows hosted on Spreaker.com. It's Spreaker.com/Goldilocks Productions. So Spreaker is SPREAKER.com, and Goldilocks with a Y, GOLDYLOCKS Productions. Spreaker.com/Goldilocks Productions. So Tiffany White Sage Woman is the producer of this show, the owner of Goldilocks Productions. She makes all of this possible. Oh, and also Goldilocks Productions is now on SoundCloud, so you can find it there as well. All right. So if you'd like to get in touch with me directly, you can look on my website, ingridhturner.com. That's INGRIDHTURNER.com. And you can join our Facebook group too. So the whole panel from today is there, plus about 1,100 more seekers, healers, spiritual teachers, psychics, and mediums. The name of the group is Living in Partnership with Spirit. So it's the same name as this show. You just plug it into Facebook search and it'll pop right up. And again, thank you for joining us. I so look forward to diving in again next week. You have a wonderful day.
Napa know-how. A Napa guy knows more isn't always better, unless we're talking about full-size vans. These beasts do more than get you from A to B. They have so much space a man can live in it. With shag carpeting, waterbed, and a sweet lava lamp, these mobile abodes have all the comforts of home. With quality parts and plenty of Napa know-how, you can keep the original tiny house running longer, stronger. That's Napa know-how. Napa know-how.
Progressive presents Mindfulness with Flow.
You are a mighty fortress of supreme knowledge. Progressive Direct has not only revealed their rates, but those of their competitors. If you were any more in the know, you would be drowning in, the know.
Compare Progressive Direct rates with competitors' rates, because knowledge is power. Visit Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.